You're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio, featuring the Interactive Interview, courtesy of WrestlingEpicenter.com.
Malia Hosaka. Malia, how are you doing today?
I'm wonderful. How are you today?
Well, we're doing fantastic, and we have to thank you for doing this interview with us.
Oh, no, it's my pleasure. I'm happy to do the interview. Thank you for inviting me on.
Yeah, we really appreciate it.
Yes. Now, now I'm going to ask you a question that you've been asked probably 1,000 times, and you probably answered just as many. What in the world possessed you to join the world of professional wrestling?
My dad was a huge fan of professional wrestling. I thought it was the stupidest thing in the world. And I watched a match between Bugsy McGraw and the Missing Link and the Old Florida Championship days. And I told my dad that anybody could do that, and he more or less dared me to give it a try. Once I got trained and I found out I could get paid to travel and see the world, I fell in love with wrestling and stayed with it for 19 years now.
Do you still follow through with your thought that anybody can do it?
No, I don't. It's hard. It's demanding. There's a lot of physical demand on your body that you go through, and a lot of pain and working through the pain. And because if you're in the middle of a match and you knock the wind out of yourself, you have to get up and keep going. You can't lay there and feel sorry.
Right. Did any of your trainers ever hear you say that anybody could do it and kind of rough you up?
No.
Because I remember, I think Hogan said it. And I can't remember who his trainer was. I should remember it. I'm the biggest Hogan mark in the world, but I just can't recall. And the guy broke his leg. So that was basically his reward.
I was fortunate. Once I got into the world of professional wrestling, and then I heard the horror stories of how if the veterans know you're a rookie, they'll twist you up and tie you into a pretzel just to show you they can. And, but I was raised very respectful, and I think I had the fortune of working with some of the best women that the business had to offer back then, like Leilani Kai and Judy Martin and Debbie Combs, and they all kind of took a liking to me and took me under their wing and helped me along.
Do you feel it's easier or harder being a woman in professional wrestling?
I think it's harder being a woman in professional wrestling because the women are promoted differently. For whatever reason, promoters don't think, even at WWE, they don't think that women can be promoted as athletes. They think that we have to be eye candy or a TNA show, or our storylines have to be different, and I don't know if that's attributed to the fact that they've got so many fitness models turning wrestling, or if it's just because there's so few girls out there who can carry a good program, because there's not that many veterans left to teach in the business.
Well, speaking of TNA, there's a little show on Spike TV. Have you been contacted by them, or would you have any interest being in TNA wrestling?
Oh, well, yeah, I have not contacted TNA. I haven't ever, I did one match against Trinity several years ago when they were still based in Nashville. I don't actively pursue it. However, if they were to contact me, I would be more than open to the opportunity of going. Even if, WWE was to call me, I would be open to the opportunity. As far as where I'm at in my career, I'm very happy at this point. I work on the independent circuit, and I'm working with a lot of talented young women who need to be polished and seasoned out. And I find it to be a privilege that I get to be one of the people, and I hope that when they get to be a veteran in the business, they say that, they got to work with me and that I was one of the greats in their day.
Who trained you?
I was trained by Killer Kowalski, but it was at Misty Blue Sims' school up in New York.
What do you think of Misty's reputation in the business? I think it was Medusa who went on a bit of a rant not liking her very much.
Actually, that was Debbie Combs that went on a rant of not liking her very much, and it has to do more or less with the lack of respect that Misty had for the true veterans of the business, the second generation, and what they went through in order to establish themselves as equals in a locker room. Because for a long time, the women were, they were expected to work harder than the guys because the guys felt that stereotypically the women exposed it, and that's back when the kayfabe was in real big. And then I was told, pretty girls can't wrestle, and girls that can wrestle aren't pretty.
Ooh.
So, girls like Debbie Combs, that their mother wrestled, and they came up in the business with this ultimate respect of the art of wrestling. They didn't take a liking to Misty and her ways and her disrespect for what they viewed as professionalism.
Well, your first match was in 1987. You had a tag team match with Misty against, and forgive me if I get this wrong, Debbie Combs and, the last name escapes me. Can you fill me in?
It was actually Mad Dog Debbie and Linda Dallas.
Okay, thank you for correcting me.
Yeah, that was my first match was in Holyoke, Massachusetts, and I was Malia Ho. They dropped the Hosaka off the end of my name, and
which I'm sure made you really happy.
And I was, well, they put me in like this red, white, and blue because Mary Lou Retton was real big back then, and they just thought I was going to be the Mary Lou Retton of wrestling, and so I had on this little gymnastics outfit and the little red, white, blue bandanas, and it was all very cheesy.
Wow, because there's a promotion out now, Women's Extreme Wrestling. Have you heard of it?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, where they use that ho word way too much, I think.
Yeah, one of the wrestlers is a Native American girl, so they call her Navajo, and
right.
It's like.
See, with promotions like that, and with men's not promoting the girls properly, it makes it very hard for the girls out there that are athletic and pretty to get recognition and to get respect.
Are you offended by any of that type of thing?
I'm not personally offended by it, but at the same time, I wish that if all you're going to do is make fun of what I choose as my career and my profession, and if you think all we're good for is TNA and the dildo on a pole matches and things like, get out, please. If you can't wrestle, keep your TNA out of the ring.
Well, have you ever seen?
Buy that show. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Have you ever seen one of their pay-per-views?
No, I have not. I've heard of them.
Okay. Now let me. I'm going to step in and just give you a quick synopsis of it, because they actually do hire some girls who actually can work. The problem is, for example, a couple months ago they had a really good pay-per-view, and it was headlined by Jazz against Simply Luscious, and they put on a really good match, as I'm sure that you'd expect that they would. The problem with it was, out of an hour-and-a-half pay-per-view, about 45 minutes of it was some amateur porn star taking off her clothes in a pre-taped vignette.
Exactly.
And
so that means that anything that Jazz and Simply Luscious did in their main event was lost in between and had no meaning. And I mean, I don't condemn girls that get involved in things like that, the pro side of the girls or anything like that. But at the same time, I've worked very hard to try to keep my reputation clean. I try not to be associated with websites or promotions that allow that type of pornography and that blatant display of lack of disrespect for our business. And like I said, I don't condone it and I don't condemn it. If the girls want to go and be a part of it, if they want to do apartment wrestling on the side, that's all their business. But at the same time, don't ask me to take you as an equal in my business when that's what you're willing to do too.
Wow. Now, speaking of the current WWE style, there's a promoter, a longtime promoter who, is very into the fetishy type of wrestling. David McLean. He did Glow and with the Women of Wrestling.
Right.
Have you ever been invited to one of his promotions or?
No. Bambi was supposed to try to get me in there when WoW opened up, but David is very into the models trying to look like wrestlers. He doesn't like the professional. And I think a lot of that has to do with the marketability and the stereotype that goes with if you're pretty, you can't wrestle, and if you can wrestle, you're not pretty and you're not marketable. My opinion, it's no harder to take a professional wrestler that has the talent and the basis to be able to give you an excellent match and hire somebody to come in and do a makeover and say, this is what we need to make you marketable, than it is to take a model and say, this is how you take a fall, this is how you do an arm drag. And I think that if somebody was to take the talent that's out there, like Shimmer does, and they aren't under the level of having somebody to do the makeovers and everything like that, but they're promoting the girls as the athletic women that they are, and they're giving them credibility, and in doing so, that opens up so many doors for endorsements from sports nutrition to fitness to ASICS, Nike, everything, because we are athletes then. And then you have somebody come in and say, okay, well, yeah, she's got the basis of pretty, but we need to cut her hair because this will bring out her features better. She needs to do this a little more, perhaps tone here, lose weight there. I don't think any of the girls would be offended by that if they had somebody guiding them in that aspect.
Yeah, I actually have a question about Shimmer, but we're going to save it for towards the end of this. So.
Okay.
Brian, you got another one?
Do you think that there could ever be like on TV organization specifically with women's wrestling? And
yes,
do you think that could be successful?
Yes, I do. I think that I was a part of LPWA, and the problem at LPWA was we had a lot of cliques and a lot of ego. We had a lot of young talent that didn't respect the veterans. And through the years in the business and everything like that, and more recent promotions that I've become across and become involved with, and the girls that I've come across, there's a lot of mutual respect. We're all starving for a company to work for, where we can be showcased and where our talents can be appreciated. And in doing that, you know, we're willing to work together. And I think a lot of the egos and a lot of the cliques have fallen to the wayside because we're all wanting to work together for the betterment of the company for us now. And if promoted correctly, I think it would be, you know, not ever competition for Vince, but it would be successful. Because women, I think, have so many more marketable aspects that you can take, you know, once you establish them as stars, like I said, the endorsements and the commercials and the roles that you could cast your female stars into, I think the opportunities are so much more vast in other aspects of entertainment for them than there are for men. And I think when you take an organization like that and you find some stars and some women that you can build on, and then you start promoting them in other areas, movies and commercials, and getting them endorsements and putting them on tour, then you're going to start making money for the company in other ways, in other branches of entertainment, and that company's going to just rush to the top. And you're all of a sudden giving not only, you know, positive role models for girls, but positive role models in general for all the kids that come up in wrestling. Where, you know, parents, I think now, and even teachers, they don't want kids watching wrestling because it is more streamlined for the adult genre. And for the longest time, wrestling was always aimed at the kids.
Yeah, and that's something that I really am bothered by. And Bret Hart made a comment at a WWA pay-per-view, and it was held in Australia, and there was a lot of kids in the audience, and he made the remark of, it's nice to see some kids in the audience for a change. And it wasn't until then that I really stopped and thought, you know what, he's right. Because I used to work at a daycare center, and, you know, the kids used to bring in Austin 316 action figures and things like that. And I remember thinking of talking to the parents saying, well, that's great, but have you seen the shows lately?
Yeah.
And I don't.
They know it's popular. They know it's there. And, you know, you watch the shows at the same time. When you're watching the show, you have to be able to go, little Jimmy or little Susie, cover your eyes, cover your ears. And I understand that, you know, Vince's, I see both sides to it, okay? Be a parent and parent your child and explain to them that you shouldn't do these moves, that you shouldn't talk like this, that these people are just acting. But at the same time, and Vince's view is, if you don't like what I'm doing, turn it off, watch something else. But at the same time, I think that as people in the public eye, we have a responsibility for the images that we portray and the things that we say are okay. Because they don't associate, it's not like, we're not Mel Gibson playing 16 different roles, you know, and they get to go to all these different movies.
Right.
They see Steve Austin as Steve Austin. They never see him as anything other than that. So they think that his personality in the ring is who he really is. And because that's so cool, I want to grow up and be like that. I want to drink beer and swear, and that's awesome.
Beat my wife.
And that goes on to the intergender matches. I don't condone them, I don't condemn them, but at the same time, I think that when you're throwing a female in there, I don't care if it is China, when you're throwing a female in there and saying that it's okay for this guy to smack her around, you're telling that the 8 and 9-year-old boys on the playground that it's okay if they smack that 8-year-old girl because she's the same size, or maybe she's a little bigger than them.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that just promotes a poor image. I think we have a responsibility to say, no, it's not okay. Women who want to be athletic, women who want to be a part of the sport, then yes. You have your own division. And even a lot of your high schools now, because so many girls are getting involved in the amateur wrestling, they have a women's division. They don't have it so that the girls are set up wrestling the guys. They're set up wrestling other females at other, you know, high schools.
Well, I mean, that's kind of a double-bladed thing whenever you have, you know, women wrestling men, because if the man, you know, beats the woman, then he's a woman beater, and
Right.
and whatnot. But if the woman beats the man, then she looks like a man herself almost, and he looks, you know, really hurts his image a lot.
I think I totally agree, you know, and I think that an intergender match is not appropriate. You know, I think it promotes the wrong image and it sends the wrong message to people in general. There's enough domestic violence in the world both ways, whether it be, and I hear a lot of it, you know, you hear domestic disputes and you've got friends, and I'm sure as many people do, where the guy finally, you know, his wife has been throwing things at him and hitting him and swearing at him, and finally he just restrains her by holding her or pushes her down so that she stops hitting him. He goes to jail. Well, you know, what is it?
That happened to me a couple months ago. No, I'm just kidding.
Come on now. It's, you know, there is way too much domestic violence in the world for us to say that that's okay in the world of professional wrestling. Because, yes, this is year 2006, but kids do not disassociate our ring personas from our normal everyday life. Because they do not have the opportunity to see us portraying several different characters. They see us portraying the one and only character that we are in that ring, day in and day out, for years at a time.
Well, as I might have said earlier, and when I look at you, you know, we see that you're athletic and everything, but you still are a very pretty woman and a beautiful woman, if I might say so myself. Well, all I'm saying by that, though, is you said that... Yes, well, when I say that, though, I'm not trying to, you know, kiss up so much as to say you are attractive, but you don't do the more, I guess, TNA aspect of it all. And what is your take on, you mentioned supermodels a couple of minutes ago about how they are trained to wrestle, and I think the three of us would agree, I'm not sure if you would, that one of the best female wrestlers that WWE has to offer started out as that, but actually learned her craft, and that is Trish Stratus.
I have a lot of respect for Trish. Trish has come a long way. She was a fitness model, but Trish was different. She had, and I talked to her before she was ever signed, she had the desire to learn to wrestle. She didn't come in thinking, I'm a fitness model and I'm already made. It was, you know, I'm a fitness model breaking into a new world and I need to learn it. And I have a tremendous amount of respect for the talent that she's held and that she has shown, and for the fact that she has gone on to train and to learn things and to work as well as she does. I still think she has a long ways to go. I think that they do a lot of choreographed matches, not just the girls but the guys too up there. And walking and talking on the fly, being able to listen to the fans and interact with them and entertaining them is a lot more than just the moves inside the ring. There's a whole storyline and a whole personality. But Trish, I love her to death. I think she's awesome.
But do you think that's limited to the guys or the girls in WWE, or do you think that most of the matches up there are choreographed?
I think most of the matches are choreographed. I think that's today's generation, that if they can do a 8-minute match that's choreographed, but take them to a house show where they have to work, you know, 15, 20 minutes, they can't do it because they can't plan that much. They can't choreograph that much. And if they do, maybe the fans don't want to see a lot of high-flying stuff. Maybe they're calling for a figure 4, but at the same time they can't do the figure 4 because they didn't plan it.
Right. Well,
yeah. Now you mentioned Trish being a fitness model, becoming more of a wrestler. There is a wrestler that's featured on your website, Michaela Mercedes. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right.
Michaela Mercedes, who is now Jillian Hall, and she went from a very capable wrestler into being more of a ballet, and she has you know, a pretty big boob job, and
training with you?
No. And I only had the opportunity to meet Michaela on a couple of occasions back when I first opened the IWWA. It was back in 2003 or 2002. And, you know, she seemed like a very capable wrestler. She was a very nice enough girl. But there again, we all do, I guess, what we feel we need to do in order to get a break. And in the morning, it's me that has to look at the mirror and approve of what I have done or have not done to my body. She did what she needed to do to get a contract. I don't know how many times I was told if I would just go get my boobs done, I'd be on TV when I was under contract. And my view on it was Vince has bought enough sets of boobs. If he really wants me to have them, he can buy mine too. You know, I just, you know, I don't know. I guess that's a personal thing that we all have, as females, we have to look at and live with on what we are willing to do in order to get a job or keep a job.
So if Vince McMahon called you today and he said, I want you on TV, I'm going to push you as the next women's champion, you know, $100,000 contract, but you have to get a boob job. I mean, would you do it?
$100,000 if I can say how big, probably. But you have to understand, you know, first off, I would do it if it was something that I wanted to do. It's going to be done for me, not just for Vince. So that's not something. It's not like I'm sitting here going my whole life, I'm never getting that done. I'm never getting that done. It's something that I've already contemplated doing in my own personal life.
Right.
But you know, when I was under contract. Yeah, well, thank you. But, you know, it's all push-up padding. It's called the Wonder Bra. Take it off, you wonder what happened. But, yeah, I put on, you know, I do things for me, not because other people want me to do this or expect me to do it. I try to make sure that anything I do in the ring and in my life, I don't have to turn around and say, Dad, please don't watch that. Because if I have to say that to my dad, I don't need to do it. And that's always been the standard of living that I do.
That's another thing they do with the women up there. Every single woman that ever passes through the WWE these days has to do a lesbian angle.
Right.
Don't really understand that.
You want me to lesbian angle? Angelina Jolie better be on the other side of it. That's all I got to say.
Sounds good to me.
I'd pay to watch that. No.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I guess we can start.
You get me in that angle with, you know.
Well, I guess we can start with the boring history questions now, please.
Okay.
Well, you described your first match in Holyoke, Massachusetts. Well, your first real experience was with the aforementioned LPWA. What was it like being around in that environment compared to the smaller indie circuits at the time?
Miserable. It was so miserable.
Really?
There were so many cliques, and I was such a farm girl in a big city that I was miserable. Like I said, Leilani and Judy took me under their wing there, and they worked with me, and they helped bring me along as much as they could during that time frame. I loved them dearly. But as far as the rest of the girls that went, I have a professional respect for them and what they could do in the ring. But it was not a pleasant experience. Women are so catty. They're jealous, vindictive creatures. And to be in a locker room full of girls that have these egos and are wanting to get ahead and be the star of the show because, you know, they've got 15 years in the business of whatever it was that everybody had, it just was not pleasant. And I think that the egos are primarily what led to the downfall of the company. By the time the company got the storyline to the egos and everybody in check, I think they were out of money.
Oof.
Oh, kind of similar to maybe World Championship Wrestling.
Yeah, hey, you know, there's a lot of politics and egos in that one.
Yeah, you made a couple appearances for WCW. Did you see any of those? Any of those egos butting heads?
I saw egos. See, again, that was where I came up in the business old school, you know. You go to the promoter, and the promoter tells you what they want. But in a WCW, the office ran from locker room to locker room, you know. And it would be like, you know, let's run to Sting's locker room and see what he wants to do. Okay, well, let's go see if Hogan's okay with that. Oh, wait, Piper's not okay with what Hogan wants to do. And I don't, okay, get everybody in the same locker room. Let's all discuss it.
Now, there's been a lot of rumors about a lot of women in wrestling, or more specifically in World Championship Wrestling, about them going down to get up in the company. Did you see any of that sort of thing?
I didn't see any of that, but I've heard it. And it's not just World Championship Wrestling. I've heard it about the girls up at Vince too. You know, again, I guess it just falls under the blanket of what are you willing to do to get a job or keep a job. And it was even said about me when I got signed with Vince that, you know, I slept with Terry Taylor to get the contract. But, you know, I swear I never did. And, you know, he liked me when I was at WCW, and when he went to Vince, he helped get me in there. But, yeah, I think there was a lot of arena rats in the locker room, and, you know, girls doing what they needed to do to get the fish.
Do you have any names?
She's not.
Can't do that. Yeah, no, he's a business.
She's still in the business, dude. She can't do that yet.
Not yet.
What about maybe...
Wait for the book.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, when are you going to have a book coming out?
I don't know about no book now. It'll have to be after I retire.
Yeah, that's what a couple... We actually are co-hosted on the live show, which is every Wednesday, my show. This is their show, this is my show, by Francine. And I keep trying to talk her into doing a book, and she's like, I'm not doing a book until I'm completely out of the business, because what I have to say, I get too much heat.
Yeah, definitely would.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. I got enough heat in the business. I don't need to help that out.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of your WWE run, and we're skipping around here because this is how we do our show.
Yeah, that's how
so catch up. There was a rumor that you were supposed to be S.A. Rios' valet.
Yes.
Which was eventually taken by Amy Dumas, or Lita. Is that true?
Yes, it is. I actually received my contract in August of '99, and they did not have a character for me, so I didn't sign it right away. And they called me in late September and said, we have a job for you. We know what we want you to do. And I was actually on vacation, and I said, okay, what is that? And they said, we're going to have you manage Tommy Chula. And I was like, who? And they explained to me who he was, and my name was to be Aphrodisia, and I was supposed to be his valet. And I actually had outfits and everything made to match his and all of that. And then 2 weeks after I signed my deal, Vince Russo quit, and the week after that, Terry Taylor quit, and the week after that, I had no character.
Right.
Now, do you have to pay for those outfits and stuff, or?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's all. All of the. I think, they met. I'm not sure about some of the top guys there, but yeah, for the most part, we all have our own stuff made. Sometimes you have the WWE seamstress do it up there if she's not real busy, but I have my own seamstress here in Florida, and she's awesome. So.
Yeah. Well, there's a statement that we like to give. Well, at least I do. That is, if the creative team doesn't have anything for a wrestler, you need a new creative team. Do you agree with that at all?
I don't know if a creative team doesn't have an idea for a wrestler, you need a new creative team. I think sometimes a creative team needs to stop trying to sell an orange as an apple. If it's not working, stop doing it and take a look at what it is that you're writing for versus trying to make somebody into something they're not. Medusa, I have a great amount of respect for her, but she wanted to be a babyface so bad when she comes across naturally as a heel. And I think that if she would have just turned heel and stayed there, I think she'd have rivaled, Moolah's reputation in the business.
Wow.
Yeah. She was the one who went off on Misty. She actually called her a porn star, whatever that means, when I interviewed her.
That's because, did she? Okay.
Yeah.
I know that Debbie Combs and her had a major heat, and Debbie actually got into it in the locker room way back in the day with Misty. But, Misty did her own homemade porn video back in, the early, late 80s, somewhere in there.
Yeah. That's what, I always wondered what that meant, but we interviewed her about 3 years back, and she said that, and I was kind of confused by it. That's why I mentioned that.
That's what that meant.
She's a porn star.
She's a porn star, yeah. She has her own.
Great.
Okay, well, now I read on there's a website, Obsessed with Wrestling, where you have a quote. I don't have it in front of me right now because I forgot to write it down. Where
I could get it, but you have to read with my terrible reading skills. Go ahead, continue with your question now.
Well, on that website, it lists you as an All Japan Women's Champion. Is that true?
As a what?
As the All Japan Women's you held the title. Yeah. Did you hold that?
I held the title. I don't know that it was ever recognized by Japan. They used to say that I was the Japanese lightweight champion back in the 80s when I first started. Everybody believed me to be from Japan. But no, I've never held a Japan title.
Do you prefer working with Japanese or American, or the styles different?
The styles are very different. I don't mind working with the Japanese girls. They're very tight in their work, and I love every tour that I've ever done over there. My preference is to work with the American girls because, our styles are similar. There's not a language barrier. But, there's more psychology to the American style than there is the Japanese style, and I enjoy telling a story in the ring.
Yeah, are the Japanese women stiffer in the ring?
Yeah.
Very much so. I had a little 3-foot nothing kick me in the face every night when I was in Japan. You know, it just, you know, that's just the way they work. They're just trained to be that way, and you know, you give it back, and they have a mutual respect for you. You don't give it back, and they don't respect you, and they continue to eat you alive.
Okay. I've got the quote, and supposedly this came from OVW.com, and you said something along the lines of, I am not TNA, I am a wrestler, I could be just as shallow in looks as anybody else. You get the point. What brought that quote on?
I'm trying to think what brought that quote on. I think they probably asked me about the women's wrestling. They probably asked me something about to do with women's wrestling, or you know, why I did. I honestly don't remember. I remember saying that, but I don't remember what context it was in. Unfortunately, you know, I'm sure it had something to do with being asked a question about the state of women's wrestling today and what I thought of it, and what I felt. And actually, that may have even come off my own website. It could have been in one of my news excerpts where I was just ranting and raving, and I had said, you know, I can be just as shallow as anyone else.
Do you do that a lot on your website?
Yes, I do.
Right.
I rant and rave constantly.
Oh, yeah. If anybody... Yeah. Yeah, people who read my forums on this website pretty much think that there should be a section for my crazy rants, so...
Yeah. My news section is pretty much whatever pissed me off that month. You know, I mean, the last couple of months has been good because, like I said, you know, I work with Shimmer, and I've met a lot of really good girls, and I've gone back to work for the WLW, and so there's been a lot of positive things, you know, versus me just dealing with stupidity in life.
WLW, Harley Races?
Harley Race, yeah.
Yes. Oh, excellent.
Well, what's it like working with Harley Race? That's in Missouri, right?
Yes, it is.
What's it like?
Or as he says, and I never understood why everybody from there says this, why is it Missouri?
I don't know. Everybody from there calls it Missouri.
Yeah.
There's a town there called, it's spelled Nevada, and they call it Nevada. And I'm not really sure why.
I don't quite get it.
Maybe it's just the whole hick Midwest thing.
You're a heel there now.
I've been a heel my whole life, honey.
Okay.
The whole babyface thing, that was the act. I'm a heel at heart. But yeah, working for Harley, it's very demanding. I have always enjoyed my shows with Harley and working for Harley. It's been an honor and a privilege to be a part of this company since the beginning of it back in 1999.
I've actually got a couple tapes sent to me from people who go to those shows saying how good they are, and it actually is good wrestling.
Yes, it is. It's good. It's good wrestling. It's clean wrestling. It's what wrestling is supposed to be about, and that's the wonderful thing. And I think, you know, the women's championship. I think actually not even just the women's championship belt, but the men's championship belt are, you know, two of the most prestigious belts in wrestling today. And to be able to say that you were a champion for Harley Race, I think that has a lot of credibility to your career.
Well, for those of you still not familiar with you, how would you describe your wrestling style? Is it more of a technical, like, well, I'll give it Chris Benoit, or how would you describe it?
My wrestling style is more of a, I don't know, anymore it's a no-nonsense. I used to be a high flyer, but I'm more on the mat now, working, you know, doing technical stuff, which I enjoy. I still do a little bit of high flying, and I've gone on and, you know, since I've been training and working out, I'm more comfortable with power moves. But basically my style is just no nonsense. I go to the ring to do a job, and I don't care what it takes to get that job done, I do it. If it means scratching eyes out and pulling hair, then that's what I'll do. If it means reversing holds, then I'll do that. You know, I feel the crowd, and I feel how I feel for the night, and if the crowd likes me, great, and if they don't, you know, that's really their problem.
Well, do you prefer to be a face or a heel?
I think she said heel.
I'm a heel at heart.
Yeah.
No, actually, I don't have a preference. Both are great. If you're in the ring with somebody, the thing is that if you're going to heel over me, you have to be a very strong heel, because I'm a very strong baby face. I'm not going to, you know, go out there and look stupid and let the fans, because fans are smart today. They can tell if somebody's carrying the other person to extremes.
Well,
so,
now that brings me to something. Do you watch TNA wrestling on Spike TV, or have you kept up with it at all?
The last time I watched wrestling was somewhere around 1990.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, there's a guy. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he goes by the name Samoa Joe.
Okay, I have heard of him.
He's supposed to be a heel.
Right.
Beat the tar out of two very popular baby faces. And is constantly being cheered over and over and over again now.
Right.
Now, I see that as a problem, but the problem I see with the TNA audience, and I know that this is going kind of beyond your expertise since you haven't really seen it, is it's kind of got the Cheers effect. Norm walks into the bar and they all go, Norm. There's a familiarity there. So that's kind of what's going on with them because they're in the same place every single time. The problem that I think, though, is if he was a solid heel, he should find a way to make them hate him.
Right. Well, that was my question for her, is like, what would you do in that situation, or have you ever been in that situation where people are you're supposed to be a heel, but they just constantly are cheering?
Cheering, yeah. I've been in the situation, and most times the other girl and I just reverse roles, because if the fans don't want to buy me as a heel, I'm not going to sell myself as the heel. And it goes back to selling the whole apple as an orange thing. If the fans really don't want him to be a heel, they just really enjoy him and his style and watching him beat people up like that, then why continue to force him to be a heel?
So then you think that they should turn him face then?
Yeah, I do. Because they're going to make more money off of him as a face than as a heel. The fans don't want to buy him as a heel.
Oh, you got me convinced. I like that, yeah.
So, I mean, wrestling ultimately, even though it's for the fans, it's a money business. And why are you going to continue to push somebody in a light that they're not pulling off and not make money off of them?
Makes total sense to me.
If he's really loved because of his brutality and his style, go ahead and promote him as a babyface, and then market him as a babyface, and, Samoa Joe dolls and all that. Everything will start to sell because the fans like him.
Well, I guess a couple more random questions for you. What kind of dieting and exercise do you do to maintain your shape?
McDonald's 5 times a week? No. I go to the gym about. I just started. I just laughed because you asked me. I only started back to the gym this past January after I got on a scale and I'm godly overweight. So I went back to the gym and I've been dieting. Trying to do low carbs, high protein, just watching what I eat and try not to eat junk, and then doing cardio and being at the gym 6 days a week. So, I usually try to train like that, do at least half hour, 45 minutes of cardio every day, and then try to eat chicken breast and salads, and,
Does it get boring?
Does it get boring? It gets very boring. I felt like I was going to turn into a chicken when I first started the diet.
Yeah, chicken and vegetables. I live in California, and that's pretty much the diet out here.
The standard, yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much the standard, But once I started dropping the weight off and I got back to shape and everything like that, like now I'm more relaxed on it, I don't just do the chicken breast and egg whites and all that. If I want a chocolate cake, I'll have a piece of chocolate cake, or, because I feel like I've already got the weight down and I've already started building the muscle, so I can afford to relax a little bit.
Well, I guess my final question before we get into some of these word associations is, you had a hand in getting Malia Hosaka into WCW. Is there a sense of pride in helping someone make it in the business?
There, when I don't want to say when it pays off, when you remain